A naive encounter with Delirium. Yo, what's up? It's someone that's no one, and welcome back to today's report. Today's report was sent in by How Else, where he took alcohol and diphenhydramine at 1 gram. And here's the full report details. Alright, happy Halloween. And we got a great story here to top off Delirium week. It's the second 1 gram DPH report this week, and to be straightforward with it, this was a suicide attempt. How Else wasn't in a good spot in his life, and gets to the point of self-harm, figuring a gram would be enough to off himself. We'll just say he ends up in the hospital, and of course, a world full of delirium. It's a real-ass report, one I'm sure you'll enjoy, so without further ado, let's dive right into this. Hey, I came across one of your DPH videos, and I thought I'd look through Reddit to find my own 1000 DPH/light alcohol experience that I wrote soon after. I tried making any corrections, and if there's any parts you want to cut, then that's cool. I wish it were longer, but that's what you get when you don't plan it. Sorry if my writing isn't too good. It's not my strong suit. If you reference me, could you use how else? Hope it makes the cut. This was from 2017, a while back. I was 15 at the time, as well as being quite skinny, borderline underweight. It was August the 2nd. I was in a bad place. The sort of mindset where you're at a point where you really don't want to be on this planet. I sometimes would take DBH to try to help me sleep due to ongoing sleeping issues. I didn't take it often, and when I did, it was only 50 milligrams, so my tolerance for it was pretty low. It was a Wednesday or something. I had my weekly therapy session, due to mental health problems. It slipped how I knew where some sleeping pills were. I wasn't sure if she was going to tell my parents about this, which kind of pressured me into having a need to do this sooner while I had the chance. I wasn't feeling too good in the afternoon, and had a few cans of cider. Light alcohol, but alcohol nonetheless. I didn't research diphenhydramine much, but the warning of high doses may be fatal and dangerous was good enough for me. I took them at around 10 p.m., thinking I could just go lie down and it would all fade to black one last time. At about 11 p.m., 12 a.m., I felt horrible. A sort of dreading feeling, heaviness, and slight panic. I even stumbled when getting up to go to the toilet. I saw that as a good sign and quickly went to sleep. At 3 a.m. in the morning, I was found in the pitch black of the bathroom by my parents, in the bathtub knocking over bottles. I had gone completely oblivious of what existence really was. I didn't remember it, and I don't know why I could have been there. My parents were aware I was suicidal, but I guess I caught them to some surprise. I got moved to the living room of my sister while my parents were checking my room and eventually found the packets. I remember the walls having odd patterns on them, like millions of ants were just chilling on them. My sister said how I was freaked out by the lights, but then I suddenly became obsessed by them. I got taken to the hospital by my parents. I vividly remember my mother always asking me and telling me what was going on, so it made me more aware. While waiting for a room, my parents mentioned how bright lights at the hospital seemed to attract me like with the lights at home. I just wandered around really, in my own world. I assumed there were less negative feelings other than the slight heaviness, and lack of balance was due to the extreme delirium. When I was being transferred to my room, I hugged a nurse who was looking after me. Once I was in this room, I'd been picking and examining the floor for things. They had to put a strap on me to tell nurses I was at risk of finding and harming myself with things. But it was a case of the floor being more fascinating than any sort of way to find harm. A doctor also came in, and I decided to start accusing him of rape while laughing a lot. Afterwards, I suddenly thought I was going to go visit my brother and my nephew. Hallucinations were so bad that I at some points perceived the hospital room as my actual house, just with the doors all being blocked off like some sort of Call of Duty zombies debris. Then the room would change from my parents' room to the kitchen and the sitting room. Even key furniture and layouts were precise. I would pace the little walkway in the sitting room, and my dad would be on the sofa. But in reality, he was on the hospital bed, and I was just walking around. I was getting angry at my parents because they wouldn't let me go to sleep or go to my brother's house. Often, I would go to the corner of the room and stare at the wall for a while, and then just go back to pacing all over the room. I looked out the hospital window and imagined that the building/construction going on outside was my house being upgraded. I also saw my brother's ex-fiancée smoking right next to me. She didn't smoke, nor was she there. I wouldn't eat anything or drink at all. Even when I tried, I ended up eating like half a small potato. A nurse came in and started testing my strength and everything. She asked me to make faces and move around my cheek muscles to see if they were working or something. She then asked me to push her as hard as I could. I laughed and said, "No, I'm not that mean." The laughing and heavy effects made it very hard to even want to attempt that, as well as fearing I would hurt the lady. At another point in the hospital room, the shadow people turned up. They really didn't do much, but they were shadows. They sometimes would merge and disappear through the walls. I was never threatened, nor did I feel anxious about their presence. Other forms of phantoms was me playing with my dogs. We had a few at home, and I would be all playful, like saying, "Come here, Bobby," and all other sorts in the typical dog voice. But I don't really need to state that they weren't there. For some reason, when it came to one of my other dogs, I was very cross with them, saying, "No," slowly, and doing that sort of hand pointing movement when you're calmly telling a dog off or stopping them from doing something, with really exaggerated facial expressions. I also apparently had conversations with other people that didn't exist. Every so often, my mother would help me with hallucinations of things like wasp or anything bug related that could have been crawling on me by pretending they were real and acting out brushing them away from me. Whenever this happened, I would buy into it and calm down. Later on, my parents started asking what I took. I would get frustrated with them and started shouting, so they just stopped asking. Most of the day was a complete blur with some moments of remembering shit. I eventually got pissed off with my parents and just crawled into bed, as if it was a form of rebelling against them, and I felt pretty proud when I did for some reason. I would awake at 3 a.m. the next morning, completely aware this time. It was so strange to know it was all real. It wasn't very scary or spooky, but just so surreal. I would later have to explain everything, attend more therapy, etc., etc. The results of this made me very socially isolated, and even lost a few friends because of that, along with feelings of dissociation. Luckily, they had dissipated over time, and I'm clear-headed now. Another thing to know is with weed. Prior, I smoked a little bit of weed a few times, only to feel nothing. After this experience, though, for a year or so, weed became very strange, bringing back similar feelings and more controlled mindsets that I felt on DPH.